The first warning wasn't a scream or a siren. It was silence. Every evening at exactly 8:13, every clock in the town skipped 1 second. Nobody noticed it at first. A missing second is impossible to feel. But then people began forgetting tiny things that had happened during that exact instant. A smile. A bird crossing the sky. A sentence halfway spoken. 1 second disappeared every day, and no one knew where it went. Except Elias. Elias restored antique clocks for a living. Working alone inside a tiny shop squeezed between an abandoned bakery and a library that nobody visited anymore. Unlike digital clocks, old mechanical ones never skipped the missing second. Every evening, while the rest of town unknowingly lost a heartbeat of time, the pendulums in his workshop hesitated instead, as if resisting something invisible. Curiosity slowly became obsession. He started recording every evening with dozens of synchronized clocks. Each night they all paused for exactly 1 second before continuing, while every electronic clock leaped forward as though nothing had happened. One rainy afternoon, an elderly woman entered the shop carrying an old brass pocket watch. "I think this belongs to you," she said. Elias laughed politely. "I've never seen it before." "You haven't yet." Before he could ask what she meant, she left without giving her name. The pocket watch had no manufacturer's mark, only a sentence engraved inside the lid. "When the stolen minutes become an hour, return what you took." The watch didn't tell time. Instead, its hands moved backward exactly 1 second every evening at 8:13. Night after night Elias watched the strange behavior. 60 evenings later, the watch had drifted backward exactly 1 minute. That was when he realized the impossible. The missing seconds weren't disappearing. They were being collected. Someone or something was saving them. He began searching old newspapers, forgotten journals, church records, anything mentioning strange events at 8:13. Eventually he uncovered a faded journal written over a century earlier by the town's original clockmaker. One page had been torn almost completely away. The remaining words chilled him. "The collector cannot create time. Only borrow it. Payment comes later." The final line simply read, "When 60 stolen minutes return together, someone must vanish." The next evening Elias stayed awake, watching the streets from his shop window. At exactly 8:13 every sound vanished. Rain froze in midair. Tree branches stopped swaying. Even the stray cat outside became perfectly still. Only Elias could move. Then he heard footsteps. Not behind him. Not outside. Inside the missing second itself. A tall figure emerged from the empty street, dressed in a coat stitched together from hundreds of tiny watch faces. None of the clocks matched. Every one displayed a different time. Its face was hidden beneath cracked porcelain, smooth except for a single moving eye that spun like a clock hand. It stopped outside Elias's window. Then it smiled. Not with lips. With the sound of ticking. "You've been watching," it said calmly. Elias somehow found his voice. "What are you?" "I keep balance." "Balance for what?" The figure slowly held out a glass jar. Inside floated tiny glowing sparks. Each spark flashed briefly before fading. "Lost seconds," it replied. "Every choice has a cost. Every delay. Every coincidence where disaster almost happened. Your town has been borrowing time for generations." Elias frowned. "I don't understand." The figure pointed toward the hill overlooking town. "You remember the old dam?" "Of course. It should have collapsed 92 years ago." Images flooded Elias's mind. Water. Darkness. Home swept away. Hundreds of lives ending in a single night. "But it never happened," he whispered. "It did not. Because 1 second was borrowed." The collector explained that every evening another second had been quietly borrowed to keep the impossible repair in place. A single missing second each day prevented the catastrophe from catching up with reality. Reality demanded repayment. Soon, the glowing sparks inside the jar suddenly combined into a bright ribbon of light. 59 minutes. 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Tomorrow would complete the hour. "What happens then?" Elias asked. "The borrowed hour returns. And the dam. It remembers." The missing second ended. Rain crashed onto the pavement. Cars resumed moving. Birds continued flying as though nothing had happened. Only Elias remembered. He spent the next day trying to warn everyone. No one believed him. Engineers laughed. The mayor politely thanked him for his concern. Even his closest friends thought exhaustion had finally broken him. As evening approached, Elias returned to his workshop defeated. The pocket watch had stopped. Exactly at 8 hours 12 minutes and 59 seconds. 1 second before the missing moment. The collector appeared again as the world froze. The hour is complete. There has to be another way. There is. Hope flickered inside Elias. What is it? The collector removed the porcelain mask. Elias stared into his own face. Older. Wearier. Scarred by decades he had never lived. You already chose, the older version said softly. What are you talking about? I am what remains after you. Memories erupted inside Elias like shattered glass. Not memories from childhood. Memories from a future he had never experienced. He remembered becoming the town's greatest clockmaker. He remembered discovering the collector decades later. He remembered refusing to let hundreds die. He remembered making a bargain. 1 hour of his own lifetime would be stretched across generations, divided into millions of tiny seconds borrowed one at a time. He would never grow old naturally. He would exist only inside the missing second. Watching. Collecting. Waiting until his younger self finally understood. The collector had never been another being. It had always been Elias. The brass pocket watch wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. The older Elias extended the porcelain mask. You can refuse. What happens if I do? The hour returns. And everyone. They keep the lives they were always meant to lose. The younger Elias looked across the frozen town. Children laughed silently in the park. A baker held fresh bread outside his shop. A woman carried flowers home. Hundreds of ordinary lives continued because one impossible promise had been kept. He closed his eyes, then accepted the mask. The instant porcelain touched his face, time shattered into countless glowing fragments. The older collector smiled with relief before dissolving into dust. A single second passed. The world continued. No alarms sounded. The dam remained standing. The townspeople never noticed anything unusual. They simply lived another ordinary day. Years later, people would still joke that every evening their clocks felt strangely out of sync. No one would ever discover why. Except one lonely clockmaker, standing unseen between moments, patiently collecting another borrowed second, waiting for the day he would hand a brass pocket watch to a younger man and quietly say, I think this belongs to you.